So we're going to have a panel next where we're going to hear about all the, I'm just reading my thing here. So yes, it's the future. We're going to look into the future, do a bit of future gazing on the future of mobile advertising. I'm hoping everybody's checked themselves in and made sure that we've got them either got the mics or we've got them with that mic'd up with their lapel mics. For this 40-minute panel, hopefully we'll get through for 30 minutes and have some good talk, and then have a good 10 minutes of Q&A.
We can share.
It's really nice to see so many familiar faces. So I'm going to, without further ado, step into this lovely panel. And I'm going to get Kay to introduce everybody. So hopefully we'll whip through a few good conversations, and then we'll have some time for questions, hopefully, Kay, at the end of all of this. I'm going to let you know when you've got 10 minutes to go, so if you're still chattering away, just keep it going. All right, thank you.
All right, do we have a microphone somewhere? There you go. Hello. Hi, everybody. I just made it in time. I'm very sorry, but I'm very happy to see a full room. This is awesome, and it's actually really real people, not on screens. What a weird thing. Last time I've seen this was 3 years ago, I think, actually, here in London. I have an awesome panel today here with a bunch of experts that know a lot more about the subject than I do, which is why I enjoy doing these panels so much. My name is Kai. I'm in games since a little while, 20-something years. I've been doing PC, PlayStation, console, mobile, mostly the last decade or so. And I am going to hand it over to my panelists to introduce themselves, because they're old enough and they know much better what they do. Let's start at the end.
Hi there, everybody. Sorry. Hi there, everybody. I'm Kristan Rivers. I'm co-founder and CEO of in-game ad network AdInMo. So we're a non-interruptive ad platform. Our reason for existence is we want to retain player immersion, keep players in your game, and do that as well by monetizing the actual gameplay time instead of the interstitial moments that we're all used to for in-game advertising. So we do this with click-free, non-interruptive ad units.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Humberto. I work at the industry for around 7 years. So, well, still in the beginning. Always with marketing, UA, monetization, data, both in the network side and in the gaming side. So, which gave me a very interesting panorama of the differences of working in each side and seeing what is coming in terms of advertising for the future. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shalom. Micheli. I'm the managing director of Fyber here in EMEA. Fyber was acquired around a year ago by Digital Turbine alongside with Colony and Appreciate, if you heard about it. So today we operate one of the largest independent mobile growth platforms. We help on the supply side publishers to monetize their games with our different variety of products, including the Fyber mediation, the Fyber marketplace, and our offerable edge. On the demand side, we help advertisers to get exclusive access to our OEMs and carriers, alongside helping them with user acquisition, programmatic user acquisition activity with our single tap technology. That's about us.
Thanks. Hi, guys. I'm William Melzer. I'm VP of Sales at EMEA for MOLOCO. We launched the office in London a couple of years ago. There's 30 of us now. We're a performance DSP, so our modus operandi is to run user acquisition campaigns and drive positive ROAS at scale for our developer clients.
Awesome. Well, my name's Daniel Helmhold. I'm the VP of Growth at Big Fish Games. For those of you who don't know, Big Fish is part of the Aristocrat family, now known as Pixel United, so along with Product Madness, as well as Plarium. Big Fish has a number of games that are in the casual and casino space, Big Fish Casino, Cooking Craze, Gummy Drop, and our most recent success, which is Evermerge. We're always looking for great partners, and right now we're looking for great studios and games. So if you've got a great studio or a game, especially in the casual space, we'd love to talk to you. Me personally, I started my career at Google. I've been at Kabam, built the marketing organization at Fox Next Game, which launched Marvel Strike Force, led marketing for Capcom USA, and been at Big Fish for the last year, and excited to be here with everybody. Great panel.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody. What I'd like to do is set the stage a little bit. The topic is actually fairly big, and in the chats that we had initially to prepare for this panel, we were trying to find our way through the jungle of the headline. But if we look back over the last 2 years, there's been some pretty drastic changes, not just in everyday life, but also in the industry. Things like the changes that we've seen on Apple's platform, on iOS, quite drastic. They had an impact on what we did. The whole pandemic had an impact, especially on the advertising industry. You know, at one point, budgets were being pulled left and right. Then they were not, and they came back. And I think there's a lot to kind of shine a light on. 2022 will see the continuation of some of these trends, for sure. Working from home is a thing now. Personally, I think that's awesome. That probably doesn't have the biggest impact on this part of the industry, but maybe it has. Remote education, continued levels of low levels of business travel. We're here now, which is awesome, so we can talk about these things. And let me start off by asking a big question initially. If you look at the industry and if you look at the advertising sector in mobile, is there one thing that you expect over the next 12 months to be really, really important for everybody to have an eye out on? Any particular trend, any particular technology maybe that's coming up? I think that would be interesting to know what you guys see there, briefly. Anybody wants to start? Otherwise,
yeah. Why not? Well, thank you. Well, different standpoints. From the standpoint of a gaming publisher, we at Gazeus Game are the second biggest publisher in Latin America. I would say that the consolidation of mediation tools would be really, really important. Everybody's talking about NFT, blockchain, all of this. I rather stick to what is making money now. Not that I am not very excited and bought some CryptoPunks, but it's like the consolidation of mediation tools. So now we're going to have Uplovin and Max, ironSource, Fyber, all billion-dollar companies. They're consolidating and expanding. The smaller ones are, well, getting behind. And for us, from the monetization standpoint, well, what is coming is very exciting because either we're going to see Google becoming more involved, because AdMob as a platform, many of us can agree, does not have the same kind of resources that the other ones do have. And perhaps the full implementation of header bidding, at least in most networks, will finally talk about bidding and leave waterfalls behind and see how we're going to operate in this new scenario. And probably publishers will ask for more transparency over the whole process to see exactly where our dollars are being taken or not taken.
Interesting. I see a lot of nodding.
Yeah, the transparency. I like the transparency topic. Sure, I can relate. What we see, I think, as a trend in the next, maybe 12 months, we can categorize them in two buckets. Well, the first bucket can be the bucket of the traditional, basically, ad formats. Take a look about the interstitials and rewarded videos that we have today. And within this advertising format, we see that we see that within the out gameplay scenario, because when you use interstitial and rewarded video, you're not necessarily within the gameplay, you're out of the gameplay. We see more and more brand demand partners coming in. And those brand demand partners are coming in because they see that finally there's a higher adoption of additional technologies like the OM SDK, the Open Measurement SDK, that enables those brand demand partners finally see what kind of supply they're buying. So this is definitely encouraging to finally see that additional brands are coming in, and those ad units, those ad formats are connected directly to the game economy, virtual currencies. And in the other bucket of trends that we see now is the emerging new side of in-game advertising, the audio ads, the brand billboard that is running embedded within the game. And those ad units are part of the gameplay, part of the user experience. So in order to understand what will happen in the future, we will have to understand at what extent app developers and publishers will have basically be able to decide if ad experience is part of the ad economy. There are many app developers out there that build their complete monetization strategies as part of their ad economy. And if they change one of those advertising strategies, then it impacts their retentions, impacts their abilities to give users virtual currencies. So eventually we will have to understand how those app developers, whether they're integrating those incremental ad formats and measure the increase, the change, or they actually stick with the existing ones because the existing ones are here to stay. There is such a rooted connection between advertising, ad experience to game economy that and so many applications that is not changeable, and this is something that we definitely will see in the next several months.
In fact, I'll just add to that, and thanks, Shalom. You just said everything I was going to say, so that was made my life easier. I mean, the non-intrusive ad formats, whatever they look like, audio, in-game video, animated, billboard, et cetera. Clearly, there's both sides of this that have to come together, right? I think, and this is something that's cool looking backwards, the last 12 months, 24 months. It's become, from the advertiser side, as you said, brands are starting to look at this space. Finally, I know we've been talking about this for 2 decades, but finally, brands are actually starting to look at this space. So the demand side's coming in, and then on the other hand, and I think William, you'll probably disagree with how I'm going to say this, so bear with me on this. This is probably too strong a word, but the decline of performance advertising, right? It's been a challenge for many of the game developers, and so they are looking for additional monetization streams, which again means they're willing to experiment with new types of ad formats. So again, that's been a tailwind for us, a tailwind for the industry. I think the other one that I would layer on top of all of this as well is just this, whether you call it ATT, whether you call it iOS 14, but this concept of privacy now, and players, audiences are thinking more about their privacy, and I think that's good. I think that's good for us as an industry. We should be thinking about rather very intrusive ways of how do we shove ads in front of these players? How do we create more personalized brand experiences, more personalized advertising experiences, and whether that's using the data that we have internally, whether that's using ML of your partners like us, but finding ways to create those great experiences in a privacy-respecting manner, I think is the other trend that we'll see over the next 12 months.
It's interesting in mobile gaming, the concept of brand marketing is something that I think is oftentimes not prioritized because it has this legacy association with people who run campaigns that don't actually care about performance, which is valid. But I think what we have the chance to see now is kind of the emergence of what a new form of brand marketing looks like that is conscious of the UA and performance realities that we all live in and notices the impact that a brand can make in the way that it can take one of our biggest challenges, I think, in the coming year, which is rising CPIs, decreased efficiencies, challenges with ROAS, decreasing organics, and help to augment that by recognizing that brand also means the value with which you deliver to users within your UA ads. That is brand. It's just taking it from a different angle that allows digital marketing and UA to be directly connected to brand. And so I think, the term brand marketing gets a bad rap because we bring all these old things into it, but I think it's going to be more necessary than ever. We just need to redefine it.
Yeah, I think the transparency is a brand-safe environment, along with caveats, and I think there's a space for performance and brand across the ecosystem. It's great to see the improvements over time. And I think transparency both supply side and demand side, and I think MOLOCO offers a fully transparent demand side platform to its clients. As long as that comes back to us from the supply end as well, I think we're in a pretty good spot.
Cool. Thank you, gentlemen. So talking about different forms of monetization, hybrid was a big topic last year, right? Personally, I think that's going to continue. With everything you said, is that true? Is a strategy for a developer or a publisher, a monetization strategy that utilizes not just IIPs but also ads, really important? Is it getting ever more important, or can you still rely solely on one of them to actually have a successful product from your point of view?
Kind of why wouldn't you if you can monetize both ends of the spectrum, right? We're seeing strong performance when it comes to hybrid casual games. Our sweet spot is IAP, and while we're targeting those high-value users and picking them up, all the other users and the users we do pick up that do make an IAP are driving ad revenue. So that's we're seeing a lot of expansion on that side of the equation.
Okay, definitely agree. It will continue being hybrid model. I think that it's a funny topic because recently we were speaking with one of the biggest publishers out there that was doing 100% IAP and suddenly started embedding ads, and now they encountered 99.15% IAP and 0.8% is ads. Right, it's nothing. It just started, but those publishers are definitely thinking about it. I don't think that anyone can allow themselves to be only that or that. The hybrid model has to exist, and how publishers embed them relies mainly on the data that they collect, how smart they can be around user segmentation, what kind of technologies and capabilities they get from their partners. The smarter and the more advanced, the smarter they will be on adjusting the right product to their clients.
Yeah, I mean, the reason there weren't more hybrid models, especially with IAP-heavy games, was general fear, right? And fear driven by ignorance that was because of a lack of data that informed how you could effectively segment, hold out, and deliver more, player-friendly and player-first ads. And you look at especially like a mid-core game, well, there was this belief in the industry that if you show an ad, there's no way you can intelligently show ads to a mid-core gamer because no matter what, they're going to make you more via IAP, and you don't want to scare them off. This is again a legacy belief that the additional data, better in-game ad integrations, better segmentation allow us to address. And so I think we still have to collectively overcome some of that, that fear that is simply via the need for education. But I mean, we've made huge leaps and bounds lately, and so I think anyone who's not thinking hybrid is thinking a bit of an outdated school of thought.
Sorry, I'll add a little more, Humberto. But I think actually you probably have as a publisher, as a developer, you have probably one of the best views on this. We're leaning into hybrid. I mean, I think this is where the other part of it that we love is it's not just are we monetizing this player with an ad or are we monetizing with an IAP. What we have features that allow you to show as a developer to show ads for your IAPs. This is in-game inventory you have already. You probably as a developer, as a publisher, as a savvy one, you're already promoting events, you're promoting other types of IAP features that you may have. Why not just in the interstitial moments, but if we have this in-game non-intrusive parts of it, let's advertise it there as well. And again, back to understanding the players, creating that experience for them, understanding at what point they might be receptive to an IAP ad, not just receptive to other churning out or whatever.
Well, I used to have a manager in a company that I worked for, and she was very tough but extremely bright, and everything was about data for her. And helped me a lot through my career and to improve myself as a professional. And I think that's the point here about IAP and monetization. It's about us, you graciously put here about data, how much data do we have to work, to understand our players, to do the right cohorts. We at Gazeus, I would say roughly, 70-30 or 60-40, depending on the game of our games. It's our IAP to monetization, and we want, of course, to be more equilibrated on this. What I can see right now is that our monetization partners, our ad monetization partners, they're actually helping us to build a good IAP environment inside games, so we can spend more in user acquisition. So it's a win-win situation if well built for both sides. So I think the future definitely is hybrid, and I see the companies converging to help.
what metrics do you look at in a title when you want to turn it or convert it into a hybrid casual from hyper?
It's a bit tough, but I would say it's an equilibrium between how much I make in terms of eCPM and the frequency of ads that I'm showing to my users, because I can be very aggressive depending on the title, and in some cases depending on how premium the game that I have works. So, for example, we are making games in partnership with Netflix. We just launched one. It's called Domino's Battle, and in this game we want to work with a hybrid model. So we're looking right now. We will push the users out. So retention right now is the main thing that I am looking. We will push the users down either with ads or with IAPs, because I want to keep this amazing brand working with me. I want to keep the users happy, but I need to make money as well.
And I think finally I would just plug, like, anytime you have to pivot for an existing game, the integration is going to feel more slapped on. And so this is why it's so important that in the game design process from the very earliest days, you're thinking about how to put in-app ads, because they're going to create a better user experience. They're going to be more seamless than what you would put on, 6 months after launching.
Yeah, it's actually interesting you mentioned Netflix. I'm curious how that's going to develop, because right now, if you look at these subscription platforms, Apple Arcade, Netflix, I think there's one or two others that might be emerging or were there. Their primary model is subscription, so they actually don't need to make money necessarily in the phase that they're investing into their platforms and increasing the reach. But eventually, that's going to be a question that's going to be asked, right? Especially by the developers. So I'm curious to see how that goes. And ads are an interesting, form of making it happen there.
Just a point, we already have ads in the Netflix games, rewarded video. So it is happening.
Cool, awesome, way ahead. Talking about ads, video ads, that was something that saw a nice increase and rise in the last year. Anything on the horizon for that? Is it going to continue? I'm going to ask again. I think it's awesome. I've seen some really cool formats developed there on all kinds of different types. What do you see happening there this year? Is it going to continue? Is it going to be more? Is this something that definitely you need to have on your radar as a developer as well?
So video definitely growing massively. There are different aspects to how do you embed video that, as I've said over here, that impacts your retention, right? The user experience, the user acquisition is the most important, or one of the most important parts. How do you embed videos that maintain the retention/churn rates, and how do you actually increase revenues? For that, you have to have strong platforms that enable you to give the right A/B testing to conduct those tests. In addition to that, additional embedded new verticals, like we said, the brand videos that are getting in. What I said by the way before that about brands stepping in, brands will continue increasing, but that will not necessarily stop what we have today. The rewarded video, performance rewarded video, interstitials will continue dominating. That will continue to be the lion's share of the publishers in the next foreseeable future. But additional formats like brands, and who doesn't like to see a beautiful brand ad as a rewarded video for 30 seconds, right? It engages you. You actually, not necessarily putting the phone aside and waiting for those 30 seconds. You're actually engaged. So I think that those ad units will continue rising, and video as a whole, due to the competition that we have with the programmatic side, as the competition increases the prices, will continue evolving, growing in the industry.
Cool.
So yeah, video. We love it. I think it's worth loving. I think consumers and users typically enjoy the format, especially rewarded. Our expansion as a business has basically been on video. It delivers value from a performance perspective. Why wouldn't it? The unit itself can be adapted to playable or interactive in any format too. So it gives a lot of opportunity to engage users and consumers if you're a brand in multiple different ways. So I think it's a vital piece of the puzzle from a monetization perspective.
You know, testing and data are key to facilitating this, but we always need to remember, you know, garbage in, garbage out, right? You're only going to find the best amongst the things you bring to the table. So you need to have an amazing creative team. You need to invest in that team. You need to have them have a data orientation so that you can find that blending of creativity and performance.
Well, I think that either if we talk about the traditional networks or if you talk about new networks like AdMix, AdInMo, video will still be one of the most important format for a couple of years to come. The best CPMs, and we have to understand that we are in this bubble here between Europe and North America. But if you look at the rest of the world, look at Latin America, look at Southeast Asia, there is still a lot of space for video to be expanded, to be to growth. There is a lot of space to video growth, and this is very interesting.
What I'm going to say, I'm looking through my lens, right? So apologies, it probably does come across as a bit negative, but I would argue that there's been almost no innovation in video in the last year. I think the innovation's been, where can we place the closed box now that the user won't be able to find it, right? And that's, you know, I think that's a lot of the innovation's been that. And I don't think players love video except for rewarded video. I mean, there's a real benefit to that, but I think in general. And again, I look at this through our lens. I feel that video, other than rewarded, doesn't serve a purpose for the player. It may serve a purpose it absolutely serves a purpose for the developer. It's monetization, right? We need that. It may serve a purpose for brands, although I'm not convinced that 30-second video is the right format either. So I used to work for Paramount Pictures, and ours was always a 2.5-minute video. That's just your standard trailer, right? I don't think that's right either. So I don't know where that magic spot is. I kind of suspect it may be a shorter form video, but again, I look to you guys who have more experience in this on the interstitial side than me.
Yeah, or maybe it's up to the developers to actually come up with a good idea of how to integrate that into the game flow and make it actually worth the player's time, right?
This is exactly where this app economy is coming in. Like, how do you as a developer kick in and decide, okay, that's important for me because I give this user coins. Those coins enable him to progress within the games, right? And this is a part of the thinking and the strategies that conducted while developing the game to actually, as you just said, okay, maybe it's not necessarily beneficial for the user as user experience. This balance will have to be taken by the developer to understand exactly how they would like to navigate their strategies, because it can come one on top of another, it can come in together, but I think in the next 12 months we'll see how developers build them in the titles and embed those strategies together.
Yeah, cool. Going to be interesting to see that. Talking about the future, there's one topic we can't get around anymore, definitely, especially not at an industry conference, the metaverse. I am very curious to get your initial take on what is this going to be in terms of advertisement. Is it going to be completely different? Is it going to start with what we know? I guess that's probably the case. But do you see the potential for whatever somebody wants to build there to be the start of something completely different, also in terms of the business that you're running and the slice of the market that you're in? The metaverse. Advertisement in the metaverse. We started it here.
I'll start with it, because of course we view ourselves as a metaverse advertising company within AdInMo. I mean, we think that's mobile gaming is kind of the stepping stone to the metaverse, and whatever your definition, I think that's part of the problem is every single person in this room will have a different definition of what the metaverse is or what it's going to become. But we certainly think that will be led by mobile. Mobile is it's the largest gaming platform out there. I personally believe that the metaverse is going to be more about enhancing your reality and less about, and I'm going to show my age here, less about putting a VR headset on and snow crashing into the metaverse. I think this is going to be something that's going to be more reality-driven, reality-enhancing. But then, to pick it apart, I think there's a few different things. Are these experiences, is it metaverse, is it AR, VR? I think Web3, NFTs, all this kind of stuff come into it as well. And I think each of these, I have to be honest, when I first heard about NFTs, I was very much a skeptic of NFTs and gaming. I've changed my mind on that by talking to people that are smarter than me about it. And I think the interesting one is for advertising in particular around that, what that may look like. What I don't know yet, and I would love to get everybody else's input on this, is, as you said, is what does the advertising feel like as a person participating in the metaverse, and what does it, I think in particular, we from our view, we have our thoughts on what monetization may look like, but what does UA look like in a metaverse perspective? That's the one that, be honest, I don't have my head around yet.
Well, I won't venture yet on how UA will look like in the metaverse, but I will digress a little bit. I think that this should be called like Metaverse 2 or 3.0 because we had our first experiences with the Metaverse. Well, let's go back to the first online gaming experience, Counter-Strike, LAN houses, and then online, and then we had Second Life. I don't know if you guys remember or ever about Second Life, which is literally the metaverse. It's the same stuff. Everything that is 2009, Second Life. But what I think that we do have right now in the metaverse that is completely different is technology. We have 5G. We have very, very fast internet speeds. We have gaming companies on it. We have the best minds on it. Back then, yes, a lot of money on it. And this is another theme for discussion. We don't have a lot of time, but I like to put it here. That is the amount of money that the government's printed all around the world and that allowed this kind of thing to be developed that fast, which is amazing, like technology and everything that is being generated. But all these mergers and acquisitions will be kept in a scenario of inflation, 5% of inflation for Europe. This never happened. 7% I think for the US, this never happened. So from the standpoint of investors and gaming companies, that many gaming companies are investors as well, is it a fad? Is not a fad? It will survive when things hit, because let's suppose if something happens in Eastern Europe, I'll not mention, no political stuff here, but the oil goes up over $100, $120, what will happen? Where the money will go? Interest rates, where they will be hiked or not. So we have to take this into consideration when talking about the metaverse, because we're literally seated and taking vaccines for 2 years with governments pumping money all around, and now we're going to have a normalization eventually. But particularly, I'm very, very, very excited, and I think it will change a lot of things. But first, there will be a lot of strange things, and then we'll have a lot of nice things.
I'm going to speak about avatars. It's a little bit different. So in terms of meta world, think about, we will be represented by different avatars, right? Something like that. And this is completely speculation, this is how I think. And how will we, be represented over there? You have a Nike hat, you have Adidas shirt, or Vans, shoes. And this is another area for brand awareness, right? So this is one area. I don't know how advertising will look like, but this can be one of them. Another one can be on user acquisition, the same avatars and the same reality, meta realities, creating some additional gaming within a gaming sphere. So it back to the future somehow, because really that, those billboards, those advertising billboards were available on the roads many 20 years ago, and now we'll find them in a virtual reality. I think that this is where we're going, but that's, again, very early stage to say.
So I love the way you brought geopolitics into this conversation. It's amazing. Never heard it. Brilliant. I think we should also think about the subscription economy. What's Microsoft up to at the moment? I think there's a land grab going on at the very top end of our space at the moment. What UA looks like, I think it's hard to say. But what are the placements, what are the units that can be advertised there? But I think suddenly there will be a push for ongoing engaged, subscribed users. How they get found, well, and in what spaces, that's another matter.
Yeah, and I guess there's a chance for hyper customization per avatar, but then we're getting into the whole area of privacy again as well. So that's certainly a pit to navigate there. Okay, time flies. I think we have 4 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken. There's one thing I really like to do always when talking on, when moderating these panels is I like to leave the audience with something that is either a resource that you guys recommend to dig a little bit deeper into the topic, a blog, a book, a website, or anything that that we can take home with and go a bit more deeper into the topic, or have something to be prepared for the future. Love to go around and see if you guys have any tip or hint for us.
Right. Good, I get to go first because it's probably one that everybody knows anyway. So, I presume that most of the audience in here already listened to the Deconstructor of Fun podcast. I mean, that's a great one. It's so great. So I got to throw that one out and not have to think about my next one. I guess after that, the two other things that I look to, one for more just kind of general where in the world does technology sit. Another podcast is Pivot, Kara Swisher, Scott Galloway. They're very good at kind of giving some context as to, including the political context of the impact of tech. And then another one, again, many of you guys will know because he's been in the industry for many years, but I love just for his visionary views is Rob Tersek. Follow him and just kind of, he's looking 5 to 7 years out there, and I don't always agree with everything that he's predicting, but I think he has a really brilliant head on his shoulders as he's thinking about these things.
Well, I think that your recommendation was quite good. Since I already digressed, so why not again? A book is a very good recommendation. It's called On China from Henry Kissinger, because we never mentioned China and the metaverse. And I'm very curious to know how it's going to be a very, very regulated metaverse. Perhaps they're already in the metaverse. I mean, it's you have a score point at least. So I'm curious to know how it's going to develop, especially over there.
So podcast definitely the constructor of fun. So one for that. Book Start with Why by Simon Sinek. Guys, just why we're doing whatever we're doing, why we are working where we're working, why we just have our hobbies the way we have our hobbies. Whatever we do in our life, not necessarily work related, is a definitely recommended book for personal development and for just thinking about the reasons behind our actions. So that's my recommendation.
I think something I've been watching recently is a YouTube channel called Cold Fusion. It covers some quite big power moves in the space. It's worth subscribing to and just seeing what they've got going on in there.
All right, well, I'm glad you didn't take all of mine. I mean, another probably clear one for everyone, but it's just anything Eric Seifert writes, Mobile Dev Memo. Oh, yes. Great resource for everybody in every part of the industry. So, yes, I got one.
Well, and last but not least, certainly Pocket Gamer has a wealth of information out there as well. And on YouTube, you can watch all kinds of panels and talks, and I find that also a very interesting source of information. Do we have some time for questions?
5 minutes.
Awesome.
Just testing. Good.
By all means say it's irrelevant, but I'm conscious that, VCs funded my scooter trips and they're funding my groceries. Are they stealing your customers by funding UA? Because they put a lot of money into blockchain gaming and stuff like that. Is it a lot of money in market terms, or does it not matter? They're going to steal users. Thanks.
at least from a publisher standpoint, I would say that we can't complain, but always could be better, you know?
Yeah, it's tough to understand how many of these companies are spending just irrationally, right? Whether the money is from VCs or from certain countries where the thought of investment happens differently. I think there are definitely players that you see spike in the market and you wonder if their payback calculus has just been thrown out the window and they just don't care. But I don't know that those things really sustain. You see these flash in the pans and you see these CPI spike and you wonder who the heck splashed the pot, and then it goes away. So hopefully it keeps going away.
Hey, there's an opportunity there, let's get these brands in games. So.
First, thanks a lot for the panel. That was a peak experience. Thanks a lot for your honesty and transparency. Really appreciate it. I want to drop a question because we spoke for like 40 minutes, and for the past couple of years, there was a lot of speaking about playable ads. Wasn't mentioned even once. So I wonder, is it a dead buzz, or did it prove not to be worth it? Because there is so much fake playable ads that users got really kind of tired of that. So what's just your take on that point? Would be really interesting to know.
It was on my list, but we only have so much time.
I mean, it will be nice with 5G to have heavier experiences where you can get something that isn't quite so lightweight that works for other genres where you can't just have a simple puzzle mechanic. So I'm excited to be able to do more representative, higher fidelity, more engaging playables at some point.
Likewise, we think they're an important piece of the puzzle. We see better click-through rates. For us, ultimately targeting return on ad spend and LTV, we're working hard to sort of incorporate the CTR that you get from playable into our models.
I can add in addition to that, one thing about brands, right? Didn't speak about brands today. Think about playable ads with brands. You have a brand car, and this car is actually going on the snow, and you actually, scratch the screen, and the snow goes down, and bam, you reveal your 4-on-4. Wow, beautiful ad, right? Those, I think, the elements that we should expect from brands and embedded with playables.
Yep, no, they are not dead, but I think it's a big thing of cohort and verticals and who are using them. That's basically it, And if you like some certain games, some certain sources, you see them definitely a lot.
Well, I think you know where I'm going to go with this. I think they're shit, right? It's interrupting the player's experience with a game they probably didn't want, and now making them maybe play it or ignore it, depending upon which side of that you sit on. So I think back to what you're saying, I do think the idea of playability within the game. So let's bring that playable experience, the idea of interacting with a brand, interacting with whatever you're trying to advertise, but bring it into the game experience. Don't interrupt it. Don't take the player out of the game experience.
I think that was a really good point.
Yeah, one of the other buzz idioms we were hearing for the last 6 months was first-party data. So programmatically, which are the first-party data that you have seen used in mobile gaming, and who's going to audit first-party data? So I can pass in anything that solicits high bids. So.
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Yeah. So, first-party data was one of the other buzzwords that was used in the last 6 months on how you pass in parameters into your bid request that will help advertisers bid better. So, are there any good examples that you can quote where you have passed in, let's say, age, gender, and other things that could help in? Because now there is no third-party data with at least iOS, so this would be more useful. Then the follow-up question on that is, who's going to audit it if the publisher themselves is sending it?
This is an area close to my heart, and I don't know if they're in here, but you guys might have seen, we announced last week a partnership with Number 8, who are also thinking about how to collect how to collect, like we do, how to collect data about a player in a privacy-respecting manner, in a manner that, that again, allows you as a developer to create this personalized advertising experience. There are mechanisms to pass this data in the bid stream back to the demand-side platforms. Some of those mechanisms, I think, are pretty nascent. So, like seller-defined audiences would be one example of that. It does need to mature, and that's something we look to drive. A really interesting question you asked there, which I don't think anybody's really got an answer to right now, is who's going to audit that information? And yeah, that'll be the question. That'll be the question we'll all be talking about in a year or two's time, I think.
So as it gets more and more, complicated to get data due to the different privacy restrictions, what I think we also can see in the industry is the consolidation and how the publishers can take advantage of the consolidated studios into get and build much better data points around users. And this is something that I think we will see more and more as a trend moving forward, and not only for monetization, but also for user acquisition. Think about, cross-promotion. It's getting more and more expensive. It's harder to get the right users. So how can they get the data from all the consolidated studios in order to not only monetize, but also acquire studios will be one of the main points, in my opinion.
I would just say that there's going to be a lot of pressure on studios to build systems that facilitate this, and a lot of companies just aren't going to have the technical aptitude or the organizational willpower to do it. So be sure that you feel like you can do it well before you commit to trying, in which case maybe look for great partners who can help you do it well, because doing this halfway is going to take a lot of resources still and not have a lot of gain for you.
Okay, we're going to have to wrap now, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.